Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum everyone. This is Shoaib Yaqoob. In this session, we are going to discuss the last few tips on paper advanced financial management. And obviously, we can also discuss the tips on the financial management, P4 and the F9. Obviously, in coming week, there are ACCA exams, and we are wishing you best of luck for the exams. But let's discuss that what to do in this few days, plus how to attempt the paper and how to do best in your 3 hours paper journey. So let's first discuss that how to solve the paper. Then we will discuss what to do in these few days which are available. Number one, how to read the question. Let's suppose you are sitting in the exam and there are 15 minutes available before starting the exam. In those 15 minutes, try to read the question number one. Obviously, we know that there will be three questions. I'm talking about AFM. I'm talking about P4. Obviously, we know that there will be three questions, and all of the three questions are compulsory. For question number one is of 50 marks. Question number two and three is of 25 marks. So start your first question. In those 15 minutes, start reading the text of the first question. First question text will be obviously lengthy. It will cover like 2 to 3 pages, normally 2 full pages, but it can go up to 3 pages. But try to read the scenario. First of all, try to read the requirements, then try to read the scenario, and if possible, try to underline the question paper because it is allowed to not on the question paper. Try to underline the important stuff on the question paper so that when time is allowed, you can easily identify the relevant and important areas, and then you can immediately start the question. So start the requirements. Question first requirement normally historically will be a theoretical requirement, and part B will be of from an area in which you have to write a report. In part B, there will be normally 3 to 4 parts. In first 2 to 3 parts, you have to do some numerical calculation, and in fourth part, you have to write the report. So part A, theoretical stuff. Part B will carry normally 3 to 4 parts. First 2 to 3 parts will be of numerical. Last part will be of theory, which will relevant to the report. Then part C and part D will normally theoretical part. So in question number one, marks will be 50. Numerical part will be like 25 to 30, and theoretical part will be from 20 to 25. So I will suggest that after reading the first question, leave few pages, like it depends according to the page size. If you're setting on the if you're setting for the computer based exam, then there is no need to worry because you will do the numerical on the Excel sheet and you will do the theoretical part on the worksheet. But if you are sitting in the manual paper, obviously this is the last manual attempt in Pakistan, especially. So if you're sitting in the manual paper, you have to leave first few pages to write the A part, to write the report, to write the C part, and to write the D part. Your uh, your numerical should be at the end of the question area. So leave few pages, write the heading of appendix, try to solve the numerical part first, try to solve the numerical part. After solving the numerical part, then you will go to the part A, write the theoretical stuff. It will carry normally a 1 or 2 paragraph. Then you will write a report, and obviously in report you will start the performer with to the directors, to the board of directors. Then you will write a subject, and subject is normally you will take the question requirement as it is. Obviously you will have to change the requirement a little bit. Obviously you will change from the question form to the normal text. So you will write the subject, Then you will write the introduction. In introduction, you will write that what you are going to discuss in the report. And let's suppose in report, you are going to discuss the 4 paragraph. You are going to discuss 4 different topics. Write the heading, like if there is a report about the selection of the project, if there is a requirement to write about the assumption, and if there is a requirement to write about the ethical consideration, something relevant to the ethical point of view. So you will write the headings: selection of project, assumptions of the project, ethical consideration, and then conclusion. Do not write report without heading, because if you put the headings on the relevant paragraph, it will guide the examiner, and examiner can easily identify that what has been written in the report. And when you create when you create when you are facilitating the examiner, obviously examiner will definitely facilitate you in awarding the marks. So please, it's a request, whenever you are doing the report, write the subject heading, write subject, write the introduction heading, write the introduction, then write the different headings which you are going to discuss in the report. And obviously your last heading should be of the conclusion. In conclusion, you will conclude all the relevant stuff, and and you will discuss that. Obviously, if you are going to, if it is about the selection of the project, obviously if NPV is positive, if MIRR or IRR is greater than, if APV is positive, you will write the selection of the project. And if there is something, some problems with the project, obviously like ethical point of view or other point of view, you will discuss that financially it is acceptable, we should go accept the project, but we should consider these ethical points and the other risk factors with the project. You can, and whenever about the selection of the project, you can also discuss the sensitivity analysis and the scenario analysis about the project, that although NPV is positive, but we should do the sensitivity analysis, we should do the scenario analysis in order to check the accuracy of the forecasted figures, in order to check the accuracy of the acceptance of the project. So remember one thing: if there is a very simple case of acceptance or rejections of a project, never write simple line that we should accept the project. You have to but explain that we will accept the project, but we should consider other methods to further evaluate it, so that the risk of forecasting can reduce. You can write about the sensitivity analysis, you can write about the scenario analysis, and obviously it should be in your mind that forecasted figures are prone to error. So that's why you should consider other methods. So that was about the first question. Then you will go to question number, part number C and part number D. Part number C and part number D is normally a theoretical part. First part is the theoretical. Second, you will do the numerical at the end. You will write the report in part B. Then you will write the theoretical part in C and D. So your question should be aligned in a way that your numerical part is like after 4 pages. Your theoretical part will start from the part A, then report, then part C, then part D, and then at the end of part D, there should be a heading name, appendix, and then you will write all the calculation. Obviously, it is not possible to write the theoretical stuff first before the numerical. So that's why you will leave few pages. You will do the numerical part first, then you will do the theoretical part. Okay. That was about the question number 1. Remember one thing: you have to be very quick in solving question number 1. 50 marks will be available, and you will only have 1.5 hour. After 1 hour and 30 minutes, you will have to leave the question. And if you do not leave the question timely, it will create problem in question number 2 and question number 3. Because in question number 2 and question number 3, 45 minutes are available. And if you don't solve the paper in time, it will become a problem for you. So my sincere advice is to leave the question number 1 exactly after 1.5 hour, then move to the question number 2. Question number 2 can be from the risk area. Obviously, if in question number 1 is from the investment appraisal or merger acquisition area, question number 2 can be from the risk area. So try to solve that question, and question number 2 or question number 3, one of the question can be lengthy, and other question should be compared to the should be will be a smaller part compared to the other part. So try to solve the smaller part first. Try to solve the smaller question first, then move to the lengthy question at the end. Guys, let's have a silence, please, for the azan. Please wait for azan. Okay. When you solve the question number 1, question number 2 and question number 3 will be left. Obviously, one of the question will be smaller and the other question will be bigger. Try to solve the smaller question first. You will save some time. Then you will do the next question. But the best recommendation is to solve those question in time. You have to very critical in the time management. If you do not follow the time, it will become a problem for you, and you will be unable to solve the last question in time. So after getting the feedback from many students, I'm teaching like since 2008, and the number one problem is to manage the time in exam. And second problem is to manage the stress in exam. So if you are able to manage the time in exam, almost you will be able to manage 50% of the stress of the exam. So please, it is a request to allot a fixed time to the question and leave the question as it is and move to the next question. Do not try to finish the question. Do not become emotional in exam. Try to solve the question in time. If you are unable to finish the question full, move to the next question. If you get time, then return to the original question and try to finish that. But obviously, it is not possible. In order to get very few marks of that unfinished question, you are going to lose the full 25 marks question of the second or third question. So it is a request to leave the question unfinished, move to the next question and try to solve that question. Maybe in next question, you can easily get higher number of marks compared to the previous question, few marks. So it's a request to manage the time very effectively in exam. Second, how to manage the stress in exam. Look, it is not natural to manage the stress in exam, but there is one way. That is, be calm, take the assumption that you have done enough practice in the previous 3 months. You have given enough time in reading, writing, in appearing test, in appearing mock, of the in previous 3 months. You have done a lot in preparation. So it is now between you and the Almighty that you are fully prepared and you will give your best effort in this 3 hours. And inshallah, if you are able to solve the question fully, obviously someone is watching you. Inshallah, Almighty will help you and you will easily pass the exam. So, in my opinion, take the assumption that there is no need to worry. Question, obviously, it's the AFM, Advanced Financial Management. I know it's a very difficult paper. I know there can be a problem in exam, but that is a normal. Everybody is saying that is a difficult paper, and even in your preparation, you have done a lot of work because it is a difficult paper. Then what is the? Why are you worrying now? It is a normal thing that it is a difficult paper. You should be worried if paper looks easy. So if paper looks difficult, don't worry, don't take stress, and try to solve the question. Look, uh, let me tell you that when I was appearing in my AFM exam, what happened? When I was appearing in my AFM exam, question number 1 was about the it is not part of syllabus now, but it was about the Z score mod. It is now in P5 in APM. At that time, it was in P4. So I have solved that question number 1, and I have written like 4 to 5 pages. And would you believe I have written 4 pages on Z-score model, but when I get the solution, examiner has written only 4 lines on Z-score model. And I have done 4 pages on that model, but I have written that with assumption, and I have written that with a clear logic. And obviously, I passed that exam. I would have got the marks. In question number two was about the two betas. I have to take the average of beta assets. Question name was Mercury Training, and it was very easy question. But you know what? In exam, I came to know that there can be a question in which two betas can be tested. While doing the practice, I never knew that there can be a scenario in which two betas can be tested. I took the assumption, take the average of betas and try to solve the question. And when solving the part B, there's a requirement to solve the question using DVM model, dividend valuation model. You know what? My growth rate was higher and my cost equity was lower. I was unable to solve that question. Then I again took the assumption and tried to solve the question. Question number 3 was from the area APV. My APV was negative. In part 2, there is a requirement to solve MIRR. With negative NPV, I was unsure that how to solve the MIRR. Then I again took the assumption and tried to solve the question. So guys, it is not difficult to pass the exam. Whenever there is a problem, whenever you stuck somewhere, take the assumption and try to solve the question. Believe me, if you're taking the assumption, you can be wrong in that assumption. Examiner will deduct the marks in that particular part, but you will get full marks in remaining parts. Let's suppose if you don't know about the estimation of fixed cost and you was wrong in estimating the fixed cost, remaining parts was correct, your NPV was negative because of the fixed cost. Originally, in original answer, NPV was positive. In examiner solution, NPV is positive, but in your solution, because of one mistake, you get the negative answer. And you put the discussion according to the negative answer, and examiner has done the discussion according to the positive answer. Believe me, examiner will deduct marks from the original calculation of fixed cost, but you will get full marks in your discussion. Examiner will check your discussion according to the negative NPV. That's the beauty of ACCA. So you will get marks according to the steps which you have carried out in the question. So if there is one mistake, do not panic. Do not get the stress. Definitely you are going to lose marks for that particular error, but you will get full marks in remaining parts. Let's suppose there is a question that calculate WACC, and in B part calculate the market value of the company, and there was an error in calculation of WACC. Obviously examiner will deduct marks of that error, but let's suppose if wrong WACC is 10% and you solve the B part with the 10% WACC, you will get full marks if your B part is correct. Obviously answer will be different from the examiner answer, but you will get the marks of steps. That's how you can get the marks in P4. Otherwise, if marking scheme is according to the 100% correct answer, nobody can pass the exam. So in order to pass the exam, if you stuck anywhere, take the assumption, leave that part, solve the next part. If you have taken the wrong assumption, examiner will deduct your 1 or 2 marks, but you can easily get the remaining marks. Remember one thing, you have 50 marks to lose in exam. You have to get only 50 marks to pass the exam. So believe me, do not panic. If there is error, do not cut the question. Accept that error because it is too late to rectify that error. You can lose the 1 or 2 marks, but you can get the remaining all the marks of the question. So that is the best advice which I can give you to manage the stress. Do not panic. Do not take stress. If there is an area which you have found difficult in the exam, try to give your best. Try to write the steps as proper as possible, and then move to the next area. Okay. Then discuss. Then what are the important areas which you are going to prepare in next few days? I will suggest that try to solve at least 1 to 2 questions from every area. Although you have solved many questions in all of the areas now. Now identify all the major areas. Major areas are investor appraisal, merger acquisition, restructuring, risk. Try to solve 1 and 2 full questions from those areas. Try to fully attempt those 1 to 2 questions from these areas. And in remaining days, try to read the past paper answer solution. Try to read the question, theoretical question. I'm only talking about the theoretical, not talking about the numerical. There is no need to read the numerical answer. You can learn the numerical only by solving that. But I'm talking about the theory. Read the latest attempt question and answer. Read the latest questions and read the answer. Try to read the question and answers of attempt 2020, 2019, at least 2018. Try to read these 3 years past papers at least. And what you have to do, you will read the scenario, you will read the question requirement, and then you will read the answers. And it will be a wonderful way to prepare if you can able to write few questions and the theoretical answers while doing the preparation. So I will advise you to solve at least 1 to 2 numerical questions from every area of P4. Then try to read the questions and theoretical answers of the last 3-year attempt, 2020, 2019, 2018. How to attempt theory answers? Anmol, I have witnessed that examiner has repeatedly tested many theoretical questions which has already been tested in the past papers. So the best advice is to try to solve the numerical requirement and the numerical answers from the past papers, if possible. Few days are still available. Try to read the question requirement. Let's say there's a requirement about capital monitoring system. There's a requirement about capital monitoring system and post-completion audit. Try to read the requirement, capital monitoring system and post-completion audit. Okay, then move to the answer and read about the answer, that how examiner has given the answer. And the best case will be write that answer in bullet points in your copy, in your notebook. And if examiner tested that part in the original exam of March, you will be able to solve the question quickly. Okay. Any other question? Guys, one sincere advice to all of you, and that is, in exam, if you are fully prepared for the numerical, you can easily pass the exam. But if you are fully prepared for the numerical and the theoretical part as well, you are aiming towards a distinction. Seriously. Seriously. If you are able to solve the numerical as well as theory, you are aiming towards the distinction. So my request and my sincere advice is you, uh, please take the advantage of these few days which are available and try to practice the theoretical parts as well, because 40% of the exam will be from the theoretical areas. If there is a requirement to write the assumptions, you will be very quick in answering those questions. You should have a grip of theoretical stuff in such a way that it will be very easy on your part, that you can easily write the answers. So try to read the question and solution of at least past 3 years questions. So there is a question, what about the risk area? Risk areas can be tested obviously from the both from the risk management area and the foreign currency risk management area and the interest rate risk management area. So there are chances that foreign currency risk management area can be tested in this attempt. But obviously, exams are frequently tested in a year. So there is not a proper way to judge that which area can be tested in the exam. So I will suggest that try to focus on all the areas. Do not follow the guess, because after every 3 months, examiner has to write the exam paper. So there can be repetition exam. If in previous attempt, examiner has tested the foreign currency risk management area, he can test in this exam too. So please try to focus on all the areas. Don't rely on the magical or the guess, uh, because in examiner can test any areas. Okay, if there are few students about the F9. In F9, are we expected to write so much like in the model answers? No, model answers are in full detail. Examiner try to answer in every aspect, try to cover every aspect of the discussion, but obviously examiner has not written that answer in 3 hours of the exam pressured 3 hours. So obviously it is not possible on our part that we are able to write that much theory, which examiner has written in the model answer. So we can write the numerical and we can write the theory which we can best answer. But the size of the examiner answer cannot be matched. That is not possible. Zad is asking about that basis risk will not diminish to zero. Zad, in 99% question of the P4 of the AFM, the statement uh, in risk management area is written like that basis will diminish to zero. Basis will diminish to zero. That means the difference between the spot rate and the future rate will diminish towards zero over the period of time. But there can be a scenario that current spot rate is 1.5. Try to understand this. Current spot rate is 1.5. Future rate is 1.8. Current spot is 1.5. Future rate is 1.5. The difference between these two is 0.3. This is basis. And months are 6. So every month there should be equal decline of the basis. But let's suppose it is written in the question that bases are not diminishing to zero, and in the last month still 20 bases are available. Still 20 bases are there. In that case, you will have to calculate the lock-in rate or the closing future in a different way. Previously, if you remember the formula, we add or less the remaining basis point to the closing future or the closing spot. So now closing basis point will be given by the examiner, and you have to adjust those closing basis point with the closing spot or the closing future if bases are not diminishing to zero. So that's the different scenario. Okay, there was another question discussion about the F9. In F9, obviously we know that 60 marks are available for the numerical for the objective part. So in order to achieve those 60 marks in these few days, it is my request to solve the past paper MCQs. I think from 2014 onwards, few MCQs of the past papers are available, and I have uploaded all the discussion on the past paper MCQs on the portal. We have covered in our regular classes the BVP MCQs, the Kaplan MCQs, my written MCQs, plus I have uploaded the discussion about the past paper MCQs on the YouTube. All these stuffs are available. Try to solve. Obviously, days are very few days are available. Try to solve past paper MCQs if possible, and try to solve those MCQs with logic. Let's suppose if examiner has written that in order to borrow, you have to buy the future or you have to sell the future. Let's suppose. So you should have to learn the logic that when we are going to buy the future and when we are going to sell the future. Obviously, we are going to buy the future when we are receiving interest, or when we are investing, when we are lending, and we will sell the future when we are borrowing. So you have to learn the logic when you are solving the past paper MCQs. Okay, then besides this, you have to solve at least 2 to 3 questions on Excel and Word. You have to solve 2 to 3 questions on Excel and Word about the areas investment appraisal, working capital, source of finance, and the cost of capital. So at least try to solve 2 to 3 questions on the Excel and Word as well. Obviously, you will solve the numerical on the Excel, and obviously you will solve the theory on the Word. Try to write those theory and the Word in the relevant field. And to get the more practice, few exams are available on the ACCA website. Solve those papers as a mock and try to evaluate yourself. And if you find any difficulty, do let me know. We will discuss that on the WhatsApp group or obviously on the call. So it's a request that in order to get the best practice, try to solve the past paper MCQs. Try to solve at least 2 to 3 questions of these 4 areas: investment appraisal, source of finance, working capital, cost of capital on the Excel and Word, and plus try to solve standard exams which are available on the ACCA website. Thank you. Nadeem Abbas is asking if we take any assumption, have to write the note at the end. Yes. If you're taking any assumption, you have to write that you have to write the note, because examiner can't read your mind. So that's why you have to write the assumption. Nadeem, listen, many students are taking the relevant assumption, but unable to get the marks. Why? Because they forget to write the assumption on the question, on the solution. So whenever I'm saying that, take the assumption, you have to write the assumption. That's the best way. Okay. If there is no other question, let's wind up the session. Best of luck, guys. My best wishes, my sincere prayers are with you people. And inshallah, you all will get pass. In last attempt, we get the wonderful result from both the F9 area, from both the F9 students and the P4 students. Our F9 students, few students get marks above the 80%. Our few students in AFM get marks above the 70 and 80%. And obviously, one of our students get the distinction. Inshallah, we are expecting the same extraordinary result in this time. Wishing you best of luck. My prayers are with you. My whole team prayers are with you. Inshallah, you people will pass the exam. Thank you so much.